Good morning, trading world. It is November 2nd, 2022, and this is my pre-market outlook and technical analysis for day trading the markets. FOMC day is here. There are 8 of these meetings per year where the board meets and then votes on policy and makes a statement. The important part now is not necessarily the actual vote. We have a Fed watch tool to see the probabilities of the actual vote. Let me bring that up here. The statements made after the vote are pretty much what's very important right now. The Fed Watch tool gives us the latest probabilities on the Fed decision. However, the statement is what the market is hanging on to, and I do mean hanging on each word. The statement is carefully planned. It's a carefully planned dance, and the market uses these statements to try to glean future plans or moves to get ahead of the next move of the Fed. This is why the market has an initial move for the rate hike or cut usually baked in already, and then it could be the opposite move or a new trend starting during the statement. Today, the Fed Watch tool provided by the CME Group has an 87.5% probability of a 75 to 100 basis point hike to the current rate. That's what this right here shows you, this probability here of the actual rate hike. And the way it reads is the current rate is around 300 to 325 basis points, and this is adding that 75 to 100 basis points to it. So that's pretty much where we are. Now, if you've been following me, you know I have been steady in looking for a visit up into the 390s before taking a multi-day swing short. The top of the channel I'm looking at, it says it's possible to get to between 390 and 400, with 394 being of particular interest to me. And I have up right here on the weekly chart, I have a channel that I've been following for quite some time. And as you can see, there's a lot of space up here to get to the top of the channel. And this being a huge area of oversupply where we could get to, and this is where we would have trouble breaking through because there are a lot of unsatisfied sales right here, or we could get to this area and there's a lot of order flow to try to eat through to get past that area. There are a couple things that stick out to me and whispering to me that the up move isn't quite over yet. It seems to me we could get a pullback to 379, 377 before pushing higher into the 390s. Let me go to the daily chart. All right. Now that I have the daily chart up, I usually don't do this, but there's another chart setup that I look at, and it involves the volume weighted MACD. And I just wanted to add that to this chart setup just for a moment to show that on the volume weighted MACD, momentum is still picking up to the positive side. The RSI is at a planned rest area and hasn't cycled all the way into overbought territory. So these two things kind of give me credence that we may still have some upside to go. Now, moving back to the weekly, the weekly chart is still moving up into its rest area on the RSI, as we have right here. And it is still on the way up, but the MACD's momentum has slowed to almost a stop. We had momentum here on the MACD at the downside. It's still a negative trend on the weekly, but we got the first pop here of positive momentum, but it's still kind of sideways. And anytime we have a sideways MACD, this is a place where I normally like to take trades. So if I'm looking for a reversal, I like to take it when the MACD is flat. But this being the weekly, it is too broad to base anything on being the weekly. So this is why I kind of go down a time frame. So today it's going to be interesting to see how high we can climb before the announcement, and maybe the announcement itself gives us that last gas push up, reaching deep into the 390s. So that's what the charts are telling me so far. From here, let's get into the key levels of the day. All right, here we are back with the key levels of the day, starting on the resistance side. We have our jack resistance at 385 to the 386 area, queen resistance 387 to the 390 area, and then king resistance 394 to the 397 area. On the support side, 384 to the 383 area, that's our jack support. Queen support 382 to the 381 area, and then king support, very large, 380 all the way down to the 372 area. They're spread out yesterday because of the super straight down move that we had yesterday. So there's a good chance that we make a good bit of that up today on the upside. The thesis for today, the main thesis is bearish, closing below the 384.52 with a projected target low of between 384 and 377. The alternate thesis is bullish, closing above the 384.52 with a projected target high of between 385 and 397. The current major channel we are in is 379 all the way up to 397. The major channel below is 379 down to 364. We have a little dissonance between the technical side, which is more neutral than anything this morning, and the quant side, which is bearish. We have air pockets in order flow both above and below us, which gives way to big moves up or down today. With that, let's bring up the scenarios of the day. All right, here we are back with our first and most probable scenario. It's going to be our expanded range day structure. We could have an initial pop higher, then sideways a good portion of the day, find resistance during the FOMC, get a wild swing both up and down before chopping lower the rest of the, and actually this should be chopping higher the rest of the day. Sorry about that, had to make that correction. We could pretty much chop higher on the rest of the day. As you can see, the FOMC meet gives us this huge spike, and then we kind of go into our new trend from there. So this is going to be it's going to be a crazy day, because in a sense we could almost do nothing all the way up into the FOMC meet, because we're right at the point of control. So I don't really look for us to stray too far away from that before the FOMC meet. All right. Our second scenario is going to be our rounded reversal day type structure. We could get a continued push higher toward the Jack or Queen resistance area, and then instead of a midday chop, we get a little midday rock, giving us a huge spike during the kickoff of the FOMC announcement here, then settling for a downward trajectory the rest of the day. So we get that huge spike and then settle into the downward trajectory. So that is our rounded reversal day type structure, and there is a vice versa alert, and that vice versa alert could be as such: we get a downward trajectory off the cash open and into our midday chop going into the FOMC announcement, and then get a huge down spike, up spike, kind of level out, and then we get our upward trajectory going the rest of the day. So that's our rounded reversal day type structure. All right, now we have our last scenario, which is our trend day down, meaning we open gap down and start with a pop back toward the previous close, represented by the blue line. We find resistance on or before that previous close, then begin the downtrend for the day. Notice that the downtrend for today is going to hold a little longer and tighter to the point of control at 384. But a downtrend no less. We find midday chop around either the possible queen or king support before the FOMC meet, then get a wild spike back and forth before rallying into the close. So those are the scenarios for the day. Please be very careful today. We have volatility at a 51 level on the SPY. So trying to trade 0-day expiration options is going to be very, very hard. Unless it's done, which is something that I did yesterday. I put on a couple puts at the 385 level yesterday, and I will more than likely be taking one of those off for profit not too long after the close, and then the other just kind of waffling and sitting until the FOMC meet. But this is a day that you have to be very careful because you will be tested. If you have on positions, you need to be very comfortable with the max loss on those positions, because it's almost a foregone conclusion that we will kind of stretch and hit some big spikes that will test that max loss area on your positions. So again, be very, very careful. Please know and understand the risk that you have on, and I say it pretty much at the close of every video. Your most important job as a trader is to protect the capital that you already have. And we do that by knowing and understanding the risk that we have on in each position and managing that risk in accordance to our account size. So I hope this helps. Wishing you a positive trading day. Let's make it a great one.